What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 92 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, movie news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me here to talk about Sonic's mortal enemy is Devin.
I promised to take her to WrestleMania. That's not how you said
right.
it, but whatever.
That's right.
There's
a
couple good quotes in this movie. There was
that line made me laugh.
There's also those guys will do anything for publicity, and I'm like, I feel that. And also they mentioned the oppressor of the proletariat, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
90s film. I see you.
Exactly. Yeah, we watched a movie, folks. You know, every now and then and obviously the headline of the title of this podcast gave it away.
Before you even say, I was gonna say, like, could you even guess by those quotes what movie this would have been? You're like, okay, maybe a comedy movie.
Okay, it was obviously a video game movie. I have our spreadsheet here. I'm looking through maybe Tomb Raider, just because modern day. Maybe Resident Evil because of that. Doom, it would have been funny. I don't know. We didn't see that movie. The Postal movie, I don't know, but certainly not Super Mario Brothers.
Yep, you never would have guessed any of those quotes. I don't think in the Super Mario Brothers movie on face value.
The Super Mario Brothers movie, which is only available on physical formats because Nintendo has done everything in its power to pretend this movie doesn't exist. It is hilarious. Nintendo's really good at this. I mentioned this maybe like 50 episodes ago. I think it was for our Super Mario Scarcity episode, which was like 49 or something like that. Nintendo's really good at convincing its own fans that official Nintendo things didn't happen and aren't official, aren't canon, aren't real. Actually, they didn't exist. You know, there are bad Zelda games that Nintendo didn't make on a console Nintendo didn't make, the Philips CDI. Nintendo officially licensed those games out. Those are official Zelda games, and they're bad. Nintendo wants your fans to pretend they don't exist. When you look at Zelda rankings, they're not even on there because they're just convinced they never happened, or that they weren't released, or that it wasn't like licensed. The same thing with this movie. Nintendo has convinced its fans that it didn't exist.
And they do a good job because, I don't want to say before this podcast, but it took me a long time to realize that there was a Mario movie. Like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't before this show. Or it was before the show that when I knew about the movie. But I remember, like, when I first heard about it, I was like, what? And I think it was like the photo of the Goombas. I remember seeing that, like, oh, what is that? They're like, oh, that's from the Mario movie. I'm like, what?
Exactly.
That looks like a weird lizard. It looks like a Spider-Man villain or something. Like, it doesn't. I would never have guessed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, before we go into it, I would just say that, like, this movie could have been something else. It could have been called something else, and you just changed some character names, and maybe you have a fun early 90s, late 80s film that would be bad, but it would have been funny.
I will say this. Not being an expert on the genre of films, and this particular genre I'm about to mention, and let alone not even really knowing a full lineup of every movie ever that could possibly pertain to this genre, I will say this movie that released in theaters in 1993 might be one of the last, 2 years before we were born. This might be one of the last truly, in my opinion, visually looking and feeling 80s action movies. Because if you didn't tell me the year, I didn't know, I would assume this was like an 88, 87 film.
This had Total Recall vibes. This had almost like Ghostbusters vibes as well. Like, just had like that weird campiness that you can't replicate now. You really
Ghostbusters, absolutely. There's just gross shit everywhere. You want to know what the major inspiration? I mean, you could probably guess. What filmmaker in the 80s made live action things that were dark, maybe brooding, gross, awesome set pieces? It's Tim Burton. The writers for this film, this movie changed a lot of hands. I don't even know the full story. I've been kind of reading a little bit up on this, but the actual person at what was it called? Lighthouse Cinema, Inline Cinema.
Legendary?
What was it? No.
Well, not
Leitmotif. The production company was Leitmotif that made this. Whoever the main guy who actually got the license from Nintendo, and Nintendo was just like, we'll just see what happens. Movies aren't what we do, and therefore it won't affect our brand. Biggest mistake. They gave him complete control over the character. He could, like, literally, the contract was he got to do whatever.
Mario could have shot someone.
Mario motorboats a woman.
That's a stretch, but close.
Nintendo would have considered that motorboating. You know what I mean?
Does his face go towards breast? Yes, but I wouldn't classify it as motorboating.
Yeah, this movie changed a lot of hands. At one point, this was a road trip movie about self-discovery and brothers becoming more than just or not maybe not more than just brothers, but like really becoming brothers. But it was too drama-ish and not funny, not even for kids. So like they got rewritten a few times. There was at one point it was so kid friendly that they're like, adults won't care about this. We need to get a feminist viewpoint in. That's when we actually got like some of the female characters did more than apparently what they originally did. The woman Mario Motorboats wasn't in the movie until that point when they were like, hey, let's add more women. I don't know. It's just what the thing said, right? But
maybe for 93.
I know Bob Hoskins absolutely hated this. Even though I think he looks like he had a really fun time. Right? He looks like he had a fun time.
I think the biggest L out of all the actors is what's his name?
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. Like, because he's known to be one of the better actors. Like, people when you talk about, like, even when he was younger, all the movies he was in, you know, like, people are like, oh, it's Dennis Hopper. You know what I mean? And like, I never like even he, I think, removed this from his career because, like, not saying he was bad in it, but just like it just wow. Like, it's weird. This is a relic of a film. This is like art.
There are directors, writers, and actors that were offered this and turned it down, and they are thanking their lucky stars. Some of these people consider it was their biggest career move ever, was ignoring this movie and not taking it. That's how bad this was. This movie, guess what the box office on this movie, on the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I want you to keep this in mind too. According to the spreadsheet I have, which is every Hollywood adaptation of a video game movie, plus basically anything ever, video game movie that isn't like, if you bought this toy, it came with a DVD of this that was 5 minutes. Besides that stuff, I have every movie on the spreadsheet. This is second on the list besides an animated Mario Brothers anime OVA in Japan. Called Peachheim Katsuchiko Daitsakuten. So this is the very first video game movie for all intents and purposes, as far as anyone would really look into it. What do you think the box office on the Super Mario Brothers movie is?
This is 93.
So Super Mario World, which is Mario 4, came out. You're getting lots of spin-offs at this point.
I'm trying to, like, since the movie isn't good, I'm trying to, like, not put that too much perspective, because there's definitely were people who went to this opening night being like, fuck yeah, I love Mario Brothers. I love video games. Video games is just like starting to
get hooked on the brothers.
Become a thing at this point, you know. Like arcades are huge, all those things, right? This is the fucking 90s, all right? There's weird shit everywhere. So I'm trying to like I'm trying to gauge all that. I'm going to play it safe. I'm just going to say 100 mil.
This movie made $20 million.
I originally was going to go with 80. I'm like, let me do 100 to be safe. Wow, I'm way off.
Yeah, split the difference between those two. $20.9 million. Yeah.
Well, domestic movie, or...
Well, this is worldwide. These are worldwide numbers
shit.
I got. Yeah.
Worldwide? Even Japan didn't even like carry that shit a little bit?
Mr. Worldwide couldn't even lift this movie. No.
Good God. What was the box office? Or what was the budget?
2, I believe.
2 million? Just
no. So budget was 42. That 20 actually is domestic. Okay. The overall worldwide is 38.
Still
so under
still not doing too hot.
Yeah. No, the contract was for $2 million that Nintendo got for it. So Nintendo got $2 million to say, okay.
Dennis probably looked in the mirror, like once the box office numbers were coming in, being like, "What the fuck have you become? You're so fucking washed." Literally, like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, kind of
his character there, where he realizes at the tail end of his career he's doing anything. Like that's how his movie feel. Poor Dennis.
So this
Poor
movie. This movie is so bizarre because I understand that you're not super versed on Mario, especially being able to put yourself in the mind of early 90s, what is there for Mario, than I am. But even then, I'm not going to be able to like, yes, I know the exact order of games that led up to, because there's lots of spin-offs in the 90s here for Mario. You're getting puzzle games, not even starring Mario in some cases. You're getting all sorts of stuff. Mario actually has like a consistent art style now. Like everything's starting to really gel together. There's lots of shit in the 90s from Mario. Lots of handheld games as well as the console stuff. Mario World was 2 years old at this point. This is so like this movie. They describe the two people in charge of this describe this movie as, all right, so we have like the story Bible from Nintendo of Mario and Luigi. And at this point, they are a pair of brothers. Mario is a year older, a pair or something like that. They live in Brooklyn. They are plumbers. And they can go to the Mushroom Kingdom. That was the official story Bible from Nintendo. That changed pretty much almost right after this movie. And it's just Mario is just Mario. Luigi's his pal or his brother. Yeah. And they go on adventures. They live in the Mushroom Kingdom. What's Brooklyn? What's plumbing? That kind of stuff, you know.
I always thought of Mario as he already exists in his universe. There is no like superhero arc.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
This is what he does.
He's
like Sonic, like Sonic. You know
exactly.
Like
and that's all it needs to be. You don't like,
yeah.
This is a Sonic movie show. So like that was our big focus for 20 episodes was that movie. And we had the quote when the redesign was rumored or when everyone was talking about how bad the design was. Sonic's original artist, the person actually designed what the character looked like, said Sonic is a fairy. He doesn't need to make sense. He can be whatever we want him to be. He's a cartoon character. He's a cute mascot. He's a fairy. Fairy is the term he used, right? That's what Mario is too. Mario is half the height of Peach or something crazy. The proportions don't make sense. You played Mario Odyssey. There are real life people walking around there. How Mario doesn't fit. It doesn't matter. Mario's just Mario. But at this point, Mario and Luigi were plumbers from Blurkeland. That was the official story Bible. And for this movie, the pitch that they pitched only to themselves was that, what if this is a prequel to all the Mario stuff, and this is what the games were inspired by? Basically, what if instead of we got a movie license off a video game, what if they got the video game license off our movie? That was their weird, like, way of twisting it around of, like, we're going to force real things and then a fantasy thing can come out of it.
They didn't even like talk about that or even like make that connection till the end credit scene.
Right, which is a joke because they weren't even talking to Mario and Luigi, which I was one of the only like, that's clever types of moments, because like I wouldn't have expected that from a video game movie from the 90s, that they would assume you played the games and understand like the actual stuff in the games. But yeah, this movie, I don't know, give me your overall impressions on this movie. What did you think about, like, just, I don't know, where do you even want to begin? The story? Just
to me,
the characters?
This felt like some weird acid trip. Like, just like, it was so 90s, and I liked that a lot. The set design was great. The characters are, even though they're based off of Mario stuff, very loosely, I may add, the stuff at least is cool. Like, the Goombas are cool to me. The dinosaur shit is cool. I'm all for dinosaurs. I love Jurassic Park, but, like, this was even before Jurassic Park, so, like, this is cool. I like this. Like, very cartoony at moments. And like I said earlier, like this movie, I think if you didn't call it Super Mario Brothers and you changed the name of all the characters, this movie probably wouldn't be as bad. Probably isn't going to be good still, but like I feel like it could have its own. It would be its own thing. It wouldn't, like, I feel like the fact that we went in thinking it's one thing because of Super Mario Brothers, based off the title, it changes our opinion a little bit on this.
Right.
I think this movie, like I said, could be a maybe not a Ghostbusters level of fame, but like it could have been like a weird movie that like you're like, yeah, that's a 90s film, like 100%, late 80s, early 90s film. So like overall, looking at that from that lens, I didn't like the movie. It's trash. But I can appreciate all the things in it. I'm like, this is a time that like we'll never experience. Like these are how movies were made back then, and I find it so interesting. Like we couldn't. No one replicates that shit. Like we couldn't replicate that shit. You know.
Yeah.
So like that's how I can enjoy it for that reason. Probably will never watch the movie again, but it is just like such a weird movie. But since it was a Super Mario Brothers movie, it dropped the ball so bad. It failed 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that makes the movie even worse, like I said, because you have this expectation that it's going to like be this. It's like it just didn't make any sense of why this was a Mario movie. It just it didn't make sense to me. There's no connections really besides you just called character names after Mario characters. It felt like a spoof, honestly.
Yeah. It felt like maybe late teens, super early 20s, couple of dudes were like, let's make our own indie film based off Mario. Let's make it really real and gritty, but like not have them kill each other, but just like let's make it real and make it make sense and also weird. like
I said, it felt like someone did a bunch of drugs. Cocaine was real big at this time, so that could have been it. But people, I feel like I said, like they were doing something with it, and to me it felt more like just like, yo, what if we just named all the characters after Mario? That's the kind of story it felt like. It didn't feel like they started with a Mario movie. Like I honestly wonder if like somewhere down the line this script was something else, and someone's like, you know what, we can make this a Mario script. I doubt it 100%.
According to what I read, there have been multiple scripts for this movie, many attempts. Like I said, at one point this was a road trip of like finding themselves.
Yeah, it just felt like some weird drug-induced plot that, like I said, could have been its own thing, but it just don't know why they made this a Mario movie. Like I said, put this for a different film. Honestly, if you're gonna remake, if someone wanted to remake this film but then call it something different, I think that'd be interesting. That'd be a real interesting thing to try. I don't know if you can replicate the cheesiness though of the '90s. That this film has in it. There's a lot of cheese in this. A lot of cheese.
There is a lot of campiness in the sense of like, we think that this is neat or this is cool. This is cool, and it just ain't, buddy. But because you thought it was, that's what makes it interesting. I'll just say interesting.
It's an interesting film for sure. Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that.
In my opinion, it is just so weird to me that like they got softballed very basic ideas. Mario and Luigi are brothers. Princess Peach, Koopa, which he was called Bowser at this point, but like, you know, in America, but King Koopa, Toad, Mushroom Kingdom, general ideas of what like the worlds look like through the video games, Yoshi. Mario World came out, actually one of the apparently the inspiration of this being an alternate dinosaur or like lizard version is the fact that Super Mario World took place on Yoshi's Island, and it was supposed to be the dinosaur lands. That's where that game took place, even though you don't really see very many dinosaur things. That was their inspiration. But like they got softball, they could have just taken those elements and built them up, but instead they're like, we got to be subversive. There is no Peach. Toad is a man. Like
a human being.
Just right.
Who plays
I guess
guitar or whatever it was.
Right. Or a harmonica or whatever. And then he turns into a Goomba, which is a dinosaur. It de-evolved into a Goomba. They could have even played with the fact that Goomba is like an Italian, like, not slur, but like like a mean thing to call someone, calling Italians a Goomba. But you know what I mean? They didn't even go with that because they even had a freaking mob dude at the very beginning and end of the movie, right? They got softballed these elements and they're like, we're going to do something different. And then it fails so hard, it's like, I don't know. I guess I'm glad you didn't try to faithfully recreate Mario and Luigi running across the Mushroom Kingdom to rescue Peach, because like that might have ruined the games for people. At least this was so different and so weird. We're going to like an alternate version of Brooklyn and New York City or wherever this. Well, there was the Twin Towers,
like
you know,
authoritarian. Exactly. Dinosaur world, but no one's really like dinosaurs. But like you all know,
they
you're dinosaurs.
Evolved into there's evolution, man. Eventually, you end up looking just like us, regardless of what your ancestors were.
This is a weird mix. Like I just realized, this movie is a weird mix of like They Live, a little bit like I said, Total Recall vibes. It has, and just like the overall campiness of like I feel like of Nickelodeon. That makes
just
sense.
Because of all the slime and shit everywhere.
In the sets, like the color scheme.
Yeah.
It's just like all those things you put into one, this is what you get. And then for some reason you were like, you're high and you're like, I'm going to call this Super Mario Brothers because I was just watching it or I was just playing it. So it's just a fucking weird movie, dude.
Besides the fact that the movie came out, my biggest issue with the movie is just how nothing seems to coalesce into something like a big whole. You have a dinosaur themed world, but this is also supposed to be the Mushroom Kingdom. How do we represent that? There's just a fungus everywhere. Okay.
That's not even it's really not a connection though. Like it's not.
This is a Wizard of Oz. This is a Wizard of Oz type of story of our heroes being transported to another world that's so weird and wacky. But then like they barely do anything with that idea other than just they got really used to what's going on and now they're doing stuff. And then plus like they have this whole fairy tale thing of like the destined princess trapped in another world. I forgot how she got there. Maybe they said she got to our world somehow.
Someone stole her after she hatched. Or no, they had the egg. Remember, the egg was bringing.
Yeah,
to the
but
church.
How did they get there?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's like all these different ideas, plus the fact that they want to make this a movie about Mario and Luigi, and like they say in the thing, this was supposed to be about brothers, and like they also have to manage that in there too. And it's like the mushroom and the dinosaur; those are basic elements that just don't work together, and they didn't work together at all. You know what I mean? Toads, there are no toads. I get maybe it would have been weird to try to make Toad. I get it, but you made whatever
or something.
Something, you know what I mean?
Where's a mushroom hat?
Yeah.
You know, like
right. I think that's supposed to be his head.
You know what I mean?
Oh, but yeah, he can wear that as a hat. Yeah,
and then he's like, "Oh, I'm Toad."
They didn't even say his name was Toad until after he's technically gone. They never fixed him, by the way. He's just like Koopa forever.
But he was a nice one for some reason.
Oh, yeah. And then there's also just the idea of the science fiction thing of immediate de-evolution as if that's possible, or evolution upwards as if that's possible. Remember the part where very early on they de-evolve Dennis Hopper, and then that doesn't actually turn into anything? I was thinking he was going to turn into Bowser.
Which would have been cool.
That would have been neat. You know? No.
He does turn into a T-Rex briefly, or whatever it was.
But, like, that's just to the effect of having it. That wasn't even really a part of, like, the story. You know? It's just...
I wonder what would have happened if this movie came out after Jurassic Park. Like, because you remember Jurassic Park was, 3 years later? 2 years later?
I think it was 95.
95?
I think.
And, like, the effects are just so much better. I get the budgets are different, but, like, just the different takes on dinosaurs. It's just extraordinary. Like, I wonder if they would have changed anything, you know? But
93.
Jurassic Park was 93, too?
Yeah.
Dude.
Was this first or second?
Lost World was 2000... No, Lost World was 98, I think.
97.
97.
Jurassic Park 3 is 2001.
I remember seeing... Yeah, I was going to say that's 2000 for sure.
And then the bad movies are 2015 and 2018. Haha.
Those are the great films. All right. They're great like Fast and Furious are great.
June 9th is release date of Jurassic Park, and May 28th is Mario. Mario beats it anyway.
By
by 2 weeks.
Jesus Christ. I wonder what would happen if like Jurassic Park was out for like a year. And they're like, fuck. We're doing this whole dinosaur theme. And they're like, fuck. Steven Spielberg just did a fucking great film. How are we going to... Because that's the thing is I feel like they really like... It was like, yes, this is a Mario Brothers movie, but I feel like they really were like focusing on like, no, this is how it's going to be. There's going to be a fucking dinosaur realm that appeared after an asteroid hit the Earth. Like I'm like, that's such a cocaine idea if I ever heard one.
Yeah. Oh, but if you put this piece of it back, it fixes the world. How?
Or back to the Cretaceous period, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. This is a cocaine movie. Cocaine or other drugs were ingested in the making of this film. 110%. And if anyone who's worked on it says they didn't, they're lying. They don't remember because they were high.
There's just so much going on with this movie. I do not want to recap it. I don't even want to try. I don't want to even try.
You can't. Even if we were actively writing and taking notes, the changes of scene and dialogue and everything else just is so goofy and off the wall. That's why I like it though, in a weird way. It's because it's so strange. I feel like they just wung this shit as they
I don't know what I watched. Granted, like, we didn't see this yesterday. We watched this a couple days ago. So, like, my brain is already like, you didn't want to see this. You know what I mean? You wanted to get rid of this out of your brain. But, like, I don't even know really how to discuss this film. So, let's at least try to pick apart the things that we did like.
Okay, we
don't have to go on a big, long thing. And it deserves the shit. It deserves the shit.
Even though, like I said, some of the shit I do appreciate though, because like I said, I have a weird fascination with like garbage, like art. You know what I mean? That like you can't replicate garbage sometimes, and like there's a beauty in that. You know what I mean? So like to me, like this movie is so strange that I'm just enamored by it, but also like, what the hell is this at the same time?
And I think a key point about that is, and this is a hard thing for me to express, this movie isn't offensive in it being an adaptation about a video game, if that makes sense. Other movies on this list, they're like, yeah, I guess this is like Tomb Raider, but it's not going to be. Haha, it's going to be like something else now. Or, oh, well, I guess you could say this is like Mortal Kombat, or like Mortal Kombat is actually more on the good end. I guess you could say this is like Resident Evil, but I don't give a shit what you think Resident Evil is, because this is going to be something else different now. But this one, while it is very much not Mario, just has this weird innocent charm to it that I'm like, they really wanted to like surprise Mario fans, not be like, how do we make this marketable to Hollywood audiences? You know what I mean? Like, I can't get mad at this film like I can get mad at Resident Evil for not being Resident Evil. I can't get mad at this movie for not being Mario. Maybe it's just because I just don't want Mario to be a movie. We'll see what the Minions team does with their Mario movie.
There's a difference between like the Monster Hunter movie we watched in this film. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of
that
where
movie was offensive.
What they were trying to do.
Absolutely. I take back what I said about Mortal Kombat. That was way closer to actually trying to be like the games within the constraints that they had. But yeah, that my positive thing is that like, even though this movie is fucking bananas, it's not offensively bananas. Another thing I did like is I do think Bob Hoskins was maybe not amazing as in the role, and maybe I know for a fact he absolutely hated this. The whole thing. It looks like he was having fun, and I felt like it was a good casting choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who else could you really put in the role of Mario in this movie? Maybe Chris Farley? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, yeah, there's like there's some actors in this that like were in other stuff before, so there's like they got a bunch of no names either. Like I said, Dennis Hopper's in this, and like as I was watching, I'm like, how is Dennis Hopper in this film?
He accepted that haircut. They gave him that.
That weird, like, I guess it's trying to be like a dinosaur, but then also futuristic at the same time. I don't know what they were trying to do with that. It was weird. But yeah, like I said, I'll always give credit where like if like we're gonna make weird shit. Okay, cool. Maybe you won't win awards. Maybe people will say it's shit, but at least you tried. You're trying to go against the grain. I can appreciate that.
And people will remember it because of that.
And I know people who are in the video game world who do remember this film because of all these reasons that we're saying.
I know people that unironically like this movie because of these reasons.
And I can see why. I can definitely see why.
There's aspects here to enjoy, and the set design pulls a lot of that heavy weight. They really did build out a grungy alternate New York City that feels really neat. Some of the aspects, like you jump from like the obvious chaotic city streets where cop cars don't have brakes. They're get energized by like how bumper cars do. You know what I mean, with the electrical track on the ceiling where their thing just hits it and that's how it charges up. How chaotic that is. Like it's chaos on the streets, and then like you got a club that is such a club of that time period, and then you got like the pristine like Koopa Towers, which is one of the Twin Towers. I think, which is insane.
Yeah, wasn't there a scene where like, yeah, because I remember they showed it and it was like we weren't sure if it was supposed to be a twin tower until like they did like one shot where it showed like two towers, and one of them was and
they are taller than the others,
and then one of them was like half destroyed, and we're like, oh boy.
Yeah,
damn, dude.
Yeah,
another example of like pre 9/11 twin tower footage.
I want a list. I want someone out there make an IMDb list. I said it correctly this time, folks. Make an IMDb list of every movie that features the Twin Towers in like a role that isn't a cityscape. They go there or something pre 9/11, and special shout out to the ones that have it destroyed, like this one, where it is a little bit beat up. There's like a chunk taken out of one of them.
Yeah. I think I've told you it before with the like off air. There's a movie called Cannibal Holocaust, which is like banned in like 10 countries because of its just graphic gore and there's rape scenes and shit. Really fucked up film. But at the end of the film, like they're talking, because the movie takes place in the Amazon, and there's like it's all about like who's the real savages? Is it the people in the Amazon, or is it us civilized folk? That's kind of like the whole like theme of the movie. And at the end of the movie, like the narrator, like they're at the end of the movie, the narrator like walks out of a building and like it pans up to the Twin Towers and he says, "Who's more savage, us or them?" And I'm like, holy shit. And this was like 89 or whatever, or 79 whenever this movie came out. And it was an Italian film too, so like it's even like they didn't have to pick Brooklyn, you know what I mean? And like I just remember watching that, I'm like, holy fucking shit, that quote with that theater. But like that's like, yeah, I would love to see it. If someone could make like a list of like every like movie the Twin Towers have been in before 9/11, just to see like
that isn't just there a backdrop, a helicopter flies over, you know, like it featured to some degree. This movie is on that list. I think that there's just, I don't even know what else to say about this. I'm honestly struggling.
I want to add more to the set design. Was I did like the police cars. I like the cars in general. They're all like these like just beat up garbage on the road. But yeah, it looks like they built like at least like what looks like a busy street where there's like two balconies on each side, walkways rather, where people are going. And I feel like we could have paused like any moment during any of those scenes and found like a new character. So I'll give them credit for that. They seem to really like whoever was
dense as fuck.
Yeah, it's dense as fuck. Whoever like was doing like what's the term? Like all the clothing and stuff. That wardrobe. They, you know, like that adds to the character. They did a great job. Like there was so many different like just different looking people, and I thought that was really cool. There was a one dude on the bike who just like for some reason purposely ran off. Remember he just biked off the ledge and fell off, and then later on in the film he runs into like a fruit stand or something for no reason. I'm like, I need to know more about that guy. You can't keep jumping this.
No one made him do that.
He doesn't yell anything. He just does it. And I'm like, I find that, like, what does that mean? There's got to be some meaning to that. You can't just keep doing that. I don't know what it is. Like, that's just one character out of, like, the hundreds that they've shown on screen.
Yeah, this movie does visually look very, very interesting. It almost kind of hides the fact that there doesn't really have much of a story. Like, think about the actual plot of getting from point A to point B to C to D. Your second act. What was the second act? You know what I mean? It's just they're there and they're doing stuff, and now bad guys become good guys, but then they betray bad guy, and now they're also bad guys and bad. What? Also, the woman that stole the thing, they're gonna visit her in an hour after the film. You know what I mean? It's a mess of a film, but it's a visually just wonderful thing to look at. And it looks like everyone was having a blast. Well, okay, Mario, Luigi, and Daisy's actors were looking like they were having a blast. Dennis Hopper did not look like he was having fun. And whoever the other woman was, like his right-hand woman, right-hand man, whatever type of person, his main assistant, that's a new character. Mario has a girlfriend named Daniela. That's a new character. I'm like, that has to be Peach, right? When we're watching, like, no, it's Daniela.
They literally had a room full of like attractive women. Like, I know why. Like, they're supposedly searching for the egg lady, which we find out is Daisy. Like, she's basically half dinosaur, I guess. Is that what they're trying to say? But yeah, I remember that at one point they're like all these attractive women in there, and I'm like, this is so weird, dude. Just like, I don't get it. And they're all like in like different outfits, like that were so 80s and 90s too.
Yeah, it's just
she gets turned into a skeleton. Remember when we thought she because she got electrocuted, right? And we thought that like,
oh, she dies that way. Yeah,
yeah, and then no.
And she gets splatted against a wall, and like, I mean, they even make a joke, like she leaves quite the impression, as she's an impression on the stone wall up. Now. It's like, Luigi, you've never killed anyone in your life. And that's how you react to seeing someone die? Mario's killed plenty, though. He knows the pipes. Oh, that's the other thing I liked, too. And I mentioned this when we were watching, that throwaway line. And I forgot even what the context was, but like, plumbing is one of those things that like people who aren't plumbers know very little about. I'm putting that out there under an assumption because I know very little about plumbing. And so in Mario, a couple times in the film, he uses that an excuse of why he's knowledgeable on something, or why he's just has the clairvoyance to go in this direction. He's like, I've been working with pipes all my life. That's the reason. I'm like, I actually kind of liked that, you know? It's a little bit of like an Obi-Wan. It was really early.
That was during the scene where Luigi and Daisy are on like a date, I guess, or hanging out, and they go to her work site, which is like they're like digging up a velociraptor or something, and then it floods for some reason. Also, the bad guys were following them, but they didn't know that. And then like, this is one issue I had with the film, is like where everyone is seems like it's supposed to be far away, but like they cut so quick makes it seem like they are like right next door, like they don't actually go anywhere. Because like Luigi's just like, oh, I know who can fix this, and like it just does a quick cut to like them knocking on Mario's door and like, oh, can you come help us? Okay, and then it cuts right back to that scene. I'm like, what? Isn't this supposed to be like miles? Like even in like a digital age, if this movie took place, like you still have to wait like 20 minutes probably at least. Like, this is New York fucking City, dude. You can't get anywhere that quick unless you live, unless it was like right below them. Like, this is their sewers. But then why are you taking her into the sewers? You know?
I like that too, because he was like, I know just what to do, and then he just grabs someone else. I'll grab Mario.
He doesn't do anything.
Mario, he's like a mother, a father, a brother, an uncle. He's my everything. weird. But I'm not against it.
Yeah,
Their age difference is so vast that it works, obviously.
Oh, yeah, he's like... He looks at least... oldest.
40-something.
24 to me. Or like 28, maybe.
John Leguizamo's Luigi?
Yeah, and then like... Mario was in his 40s.
Yeah, absolutely. They even, I like to make a joke about the fact that Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of these two brothers, didn't give them last names because they're not real. They're not human. They don't need to have last names. It's Mario and Luigi. So whenever anyone asks, he would say Mario is his last name. Mario. Someone asked him, leading up to Breath of the Wild, it was a Game Informer interview, what Link's last name was, and he said it's the same as Mario's. Link Mario, because he doesn't give a fuck. And like they actually take that and they're like, oh yeah, Mario, and that's Luigi Mario. And like, okay. You know, I like that. That was funny. This movie is not the worst we've seen, obviously.
But surprisingly at the same time, considering.
Surprisingly. There's things to like about this. This was better than Spirits Within, Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which, 100%. By the way, I know I sent you a tweet, either DM'd it to our account or I texted it to you, whatever it was, that says that was the first photorealistic CGI film, animated film. And I'm like, huh.
Photorealistic is pulling a lot of weight, but
for 2001 though, that looked good. That looked good. For 2001, visually, stills especially, right? That is clearly towards the bottom, along with Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the Hitman movies close, Monster Hunter's down there. Of the ones we've seen for the show, I feel like those are in the bottom, and like Assassin's Creed is riding the top of that. I feel like Mario is sitting there along with Assassin's Creed in my mind, of like,
it's around
they're better than the ones below them for different reasons, but they're just not that horrendous in my opinion.
Like there's a charm to this movie. Assassin's Creed has no charm,
but it's kind of visually interesting in other ways, you know what I mean?
It has moments where it's
other
kind
things
of cool, but like,
yeah, Michael Fassbender pulls that movie. Yeah. I feel like this was right after. Was this like right after Prometheus too? It was like Prometheus and then like Assassin's Creed. I swear,
I think it's the other way around.
Really?
Prometheus. I thought was like a 2013 film, wasn't it? 2014. When did Assassin's Creed come out? Maybe I'm just misremembering when that came out.
Prometheus was 2012.
Okay. I just remember that being out when like we were in high school.
Oh, 2016.
Oh, that's right.
So that's 4 years in between. All right, well, in any case, Michael Fassbender had his growth through X-Men, that Prometheus, and Covenant, which was 2017, I think.
Sounds
or something
right.
like that.
Sounds
like
right.
This was the fast track Fassbender. Remember when he was in Inglourious Bastards, which is before this movie.
I don't. It's been so long since I've seen that film.
Yeah. He was the guy that was correcting them about the German 3.
Oh yeah, I remember the scene. Yeah.
He was a like literal like not grammar Nazi, but that type of Nazi. Maybe we'll do Fassbender after Vin Diesel. I'm kidding.
We have a lot of other actor shows to do, huh? We have Megan Fox, Michael Fassbender, Tom Cruise,
Natalie Portman,
Jared Leto, Natalie Portman, sure.
I'm adding her to the list right now. She's on there. I feel like her list might be longer than all the others.
Ewan McGregor.
All right, well, if we're going to do that.
Just looking around. Norman Reedus. You have Death Stranding singing around over there, do you?
The baby's downstairs. Because Norman Reedus must be getting paid like millions for his Walking Dead shit. There's now a Daryl prequel spin-off show.
He is
Dead
Daryl.
happening.
After watching all those, and I did watch a little bit of his. He did do
his ride. I think it was called Ride.
Yeah,
there are ads for that in Death Stranding.
Yeah. They I watched a couple episodes of that. That was kind of cool. But it was basically just him and like someone else he knew hanging out. I'm like, cool. I wish I could ride with you, Norman.
He knows how to make all that money. Fuck it. He'll run that character in the ground. Anything else you want to say about this movie?
Honestly,
it's just like
I don't ever want anyone to. I don't want to tell people to do drugs. But if you ever do drugs, or you
watch this movie,
and then tell me how it went. Like, take, like, acid and see what happens.
I feel guilty because it feels like we didn't do anything on this episode. Because this movie is just so bizarre.
This movie's a fever dream. And this episode is going to be a fever dream because we don't know. You can't describe this film. Like, there needs to be someone needs to do, like, their senior thesis on this film. Like, a dissertation on this film. Because there's just so many things that went into this film that just aren't describable. Like the fact that this movie is called the Super Mario movie is it's just the surface level of what is so bizarre about this film. Honestly, put this film in the fucking vault. Like, you know, the like Iron Mountain there where they have like all of human history documented in like music and shit, movies. Put this fucking movie in there because I want the aliens to find it. Millions of years from now when our planet is on fire and they come and they just put some water down or whatever the hell, I don't know, science, and then they find the Iron Mountain. They'll be like going through and they're like, okay, and like, what the fuck? I want them to come to that and be like, this is the pinnacle of human creation. Like, that's the kind of energy I want them to have. That's how this movie makes me feel. Like you can't replicate shit like this. This to me is more art than like some big movies we see today. Can't replicate this shit.
And without spoiling our future plans for video game movies, I can tell you right now, I don't think we're ever going to be replicating this until a while. I can see 2 movies on this list that might be this level of I don't know what the fuck I watched. But we're not going to announce what those are. We had fun watching this movie, as bizarre as it was. And we hope you guys also had fun listening to our episode. Apologize that it wasn't as polished as the others because I don't know what we even watched.
And if you didn't watch this movie and you're only listening to this, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Congrats.
Also, yeah, congrats. Because like even us telling you everything, you still won't be prepared for what you will see.
Absolutely. But you can be prepared for the next time we have an episode by following us on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. Follow me on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. And follow Devin on Twitter at Cursona Fun. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Sonic Movie Show. And like always, all of the power-ups aren't going to be used in the way they are in the movie. Goodbye.
Oh, yeah, forget about the little bomb. We didn't even talk about that. The little bomb.
The mushroom was a shield.
The mushroom was a person.
Bye.